guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a reading wrap up which will be for both January and February. I don't know what's happened. I've just been in like not a full-fledged slump, but along the lines of a slump. Usually like a book that would take me maybe 3 days to read, I would probably take a week to read. I feel like I'm not loving reading as much. I don't know, that can't be it because I'm still like really enjoying the books, but I'm just reading them at a slower pace for no apparent reason. Anyways, I've got my Goodreads up next to me here. I'm gonna go through each book I've read in the last couple months, but I'm probably gonna go through in order. So this is going to be a test of my memory as to what I read at the start of January. I do remember a couple of them because they were so great, but I'm like, what have I read? What have I read? We're going to start with Throne of Glass because obviously this was the first book of the year that I read. The first book of the year? The first book of the year. The first year of the, no, first book of the year. Maybe I shouldn't be filming. I definitely think after this book I was a Dorian girly. Still am a Dorian girly. I love him. I think he's such a great character. He's just, he's fun, but also I really like his story and I think he's just a very well-rounded character. Selena, I really liked her. I think she's a really good, strong female FMC as well. Wasn't my favorite fantasy book of Sarah J Maas's. I gave it a 4-star read. I think definitely the plot twist at the end, I didn't see it coming, but I also didn't think it was very revolutionary. It wasn't the most craziest ending of all, so still give her the props for making this book, putting it together and having it so thought out, but I also didn't, like, I'm not obsessed with it. This book hasn't quite hooked me into the Throne of Glass series just yet. And I don't know if that's maybe because I've read Assassin's Blade in the wrong order, because I have read it first and then gone into this, even though I know it is the novella before this book. But everyone says that I should have read it in publication order, but everyone else also says to read it first, so I don't know where I sit with that just yet, so yeah. I do also love the characters, Nox, Nima, and Kale. I like them as people, them together. They all had a really great friendship and banter, which I really enjoyed reading about, so yeah, I really liked it, but I don't think it's quite, this book hadn't quite set me in the I'm obsessed, I need to finish the series kind of way, as were what some of the other books in the series have made me feel. Swimming in the Dark by Thomas Jodorowsky. I read this book straight after I finished Throne of Glass. I went into it within probably 30 minutes of finishing. I really love this book. I gave this 4.5 stars. I'm almost considering giving it a 5-star. Like, I'm just really unsure where I sit with it because it's constantly on my mind. That's what's making me think that the 4.5 doesn't justify it, because I have thought about it so much since. So that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm still gonna leave it a 4.5, but this could possibly be a 5-star read because of how much I have thought about it. This does follow Ludwig and Janusz, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So it is in a communist Poland in the 1980s. They have met at a summer camp. Ludwig has been having sort of gravitational pulls towards men at this stage already, and he's had those thoughts of about like a boy in his past. He's been internalizing these feelings of his sexuality for quite a while until he does meet Janusz, and they then hit it off. Straight after summer camp, they spend some time together, they go camping, and obviously that is where they have one-on-one time together to form the relationship that they end up having, which is such a beautiful love story during that time. But then when they go back to the real world after they have left camping where they've been, that's when reality sort of hits them of like the type of world that they're in. Yeah, there's a lot of politics happening, there's a lot of self-discovery, sacrifices, a lot of mixed emotions, which is why I love this so much. But I think the way that the author has put together the wording in here, I'm not a literary girly, but this makes me want to read more literary fiction, because I know it probably would have to have a subplot of romance for me to, you know, fall in love with the books, because this does have that subplot of romance. But the way that the author has actually written the words in this book, I'm mesmerized. Like, I'm actually very mesmerized. Very emotional. Check up trigger warnings, because there is obviously going to be things in here that may trigger a lot of people. I'm obsessed with this book. Yeah, I'm really not sure if I'm going to give it a 4.5 or a 5. Like, I'm leaning towards a 5. We'll see by the time I've edited this video. From Look Off With Love by Mariana Zapata. This, again, Mariana Zapata, the Queen of Slow Burn. I love a great slow burn book. This is a sort of hatred, almost enemies to lovers. You can definitely feel the hate on the pages. These two are ice skaters together. They are literally working together all the time. They have been put together as partners, and they both really don't want to be partners, but they do it for the sake of winning a tournament medal. I think that's what it's called, a tournament, I'm not sure. Jasmine as a character, I loved her. I really sympathized with her. I think that her family situation and just like things that she's been through in life, I really loved her as a character. I could relate to her quite a lot. Ivan, on the other hand, I sometimes had a bit of a hatred towards him because some of the things he would say to Jasmine would really piss me off, and that's where I then dropped having a higher rating and I did end up giving it a 4-star because of the things he would say to her, just like in relation to a woman's weight. I know he was joking, and I get that from the pages. Like you know he's joking, but she has expressed that, you know, certain comments had hurt her, and then he still would continue on with like the weight comments, but not really the way he used to. But he would still call her like meatball and things like that. That's what really was like not sitting well with me. But other than that, I do know he's joking, and the meatball was more of like a term of endearment. But I also think he should have taken her feelings into more consideration, especially like to do with a woman's weight. Like, just, we don't comment on that, even if you're joking or not. It's just not a thing that I think anyone's weight should be joked about. You don't know what other people are dealing with their weight, so it's just a topic you don't go near it. Next, I did start Hamartia. I think that's how you pronounce it. This was a romance. It was between a rock star and a K-pop star. Went into this book because it was recommended by a few people online that I had seen, and I really like trust their recommendations. But I had missed the comment where they had said that it was insta-love, and that was my own mistake because it has clearly written across so many reviews, everything like this, that it was insta-love. And I went into this and I'm like, ew, why are they, ew, they've literally seen each other within a toilet stall and fallen in love with each other. Like, that's, no, I couldn't do it. So I DNF'd at about 15%. I couldn't do it. I was like, no, my mistake. I don't know if you can see it there. Twilight of Embers by Tessa Hale. This is a beautiful book. I have been sent this by the author. It does have sprayed edges, everything. Like, it's just such a cute hardback. And look, it's got little dragons. That will explain a little bit more about the book, because this is actually a Omegaverse shapeshifter, but not wolves, it's actually dragons. Just bear with me. The author did send me this, and at first I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like, send it to me, I'll see if I like it. Was thinking nothing really of it. This is the first book in a trilogy. Why do I need the second book right now? I loved the slow burn of it all. There was hardly any spice in this, and this was probably about 170, maybe 200 pages long. This was purely just building up the relationship between all the characters. Hayden's gone through a lot of things in her life. She has lost all of her family, and she has then moved to a new state, or I think it's a new state, maybe it's just a new place, locally possibly, with her university, and she's now there, freshman. I don't really know like the American terms for things, but I don't know, like senior, sophomore, freshman. I don't really know the order. Like, I don't know which ones are which. Like, I always thought sophomore was like the first one. No, sorry, junior, sophomore, senior. Wait, there's another one. Anyway, she meets some people on her first day at school. They sort of like sent her in a way. You can tell that they're part of like her little shifter community, but she doesn't actually know that she is part of their little community. So she's like, why are these boys being so like territorial of me? Everyone who meets me is like falling in love with me, but not that way. She's not, it wasn't pick me, let me just put it out that way. But yeah, anyway, so she does meet these guys. They slowly start introducing themselves. He's introducing all of his brothers, which technically aren't his brothers, but they're just like a found family of brothers. Yeah, slowly they realize that she's actually part of their pack, and that's where like the story starts out. They're trying to like figure out if she knows who she is, or like if she knows that she's part of the pack, and it's just like very fun, because usually it's the female main character does know that from books that I have read, and it's more of like that insta-lovey feel. They have the he falls first, because obviously they're like, oh my god, she's like beautiful, stunning, she's got like the scent. She has no idea, like she knows that she's feeling this connection, but she's like, what? Like, why am I don't really understand this. And she's just so confused, and that's what makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. I really enjoyed all the boy characters. Like, all the guys in here were so good. There is a billionaire in here. There's a guy who owns the club, which I believe that's the same character actually, yeah. One of them's her professor. They're both like the older boys in the group, and then the rest of them are still in university. Two of them are twins, and one is like the mysterious guy who doesn't talk, which obviously is like stock standard guy within one of these types of books. There's always the one that doesn't speak. He's probably my favorite character, to be honest. I think he's so funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Tessa, for sending me this. 4 stars. Next, I read Crown of Midnight. Again, I feel like this was more of like a build up into the story. I don't know if I fell in love with the Throne of Glass series in this one as well. I was sort of pushing myself through, but still was enjoying it. I'm really sorry as well if you can hear my dog snoring. Definitely setting up a lot more for what was to come, and I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 stars. It still was like really great. Loved it. But I do think that that obsession feeling that everyone really has, I didn't quite have that just yet, but I still loved where it was going, the story that was taking place, plot twist, all of those things that were happening. I'm getting there, guys. I was getting there. I just realized I'm not really explaining the Throne of Glass series because I feel like everyone's read it. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about them. The next book I read was Only for the Weak by Natalia Bishop. This was almost like a forbidden-ish romance because Janelle is actually being invited to her sister's wedding, but plot twist is the sister is actually getting married to Janelle's ex. Yeah, everyone in the family is like trying to make sure that Janelle's okay. They're all like completely fussing over her and everything, but Janelle keeps repeatedly saying like she doesn't care, she doesn't mind, she's over her ex-boyfriend. Like if they have the better connection, like go for it. Like she is being very like welcoming of their relationship together, but everyone thinks that there's something there. The sister, I do want to point out there is a bit of an issue between the sister and the mum, the family, everyone against Janelle. So just if you have trigger warnings for that, just yeah, check them up. I fucking hate everyone in her family. I really hated all of the characters of her family. Really sympathize with Janelle. I really sympathize with her. She's so sweet, so lovely that I'm like, wow, how can people treat someone so poorly when someone is so lovely to everyone? I can go on about this for days, but anyway. So she goes to the wedding and she ends up seeing her ex-boyfriend's best friend-ish. They just have like an instant connection. They kick it off. Obviously, like she's met him previously while she dated her ex. When you get into his mind, you know that he had only been ignoring her, not really connecting with her because he had such a crush on her that he didn't want to ruin his friendship. But now that obviously they're at this wedding, it's sort of like letting them open that boundary a bit more. And that's where it really starts. It's like a friends with benefits scenario because she is very stressed at the wedding with her family, but he's like, I can help. Let me alleviate your stress. It was a really good read. I gave it 3.75 stars. I really enjoyed it. Rome was just such a book boyfriend. Like at one point she was very stressed and she goes, I just want to be by the water and read a book. So he decides the next day to hire a yacht and goes, yeah, like now you're on the water, go read, you're in peace. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention he's a billionaire. So, no, but Rome is just like such a man about everything, like the way he deals with all the scenarios, and like just he is very like, I'll stick up for my woman, I will protect her, I'll provide for her, those sorts of vibes. The Summer I Saved You by Elizabeth Warwick. This is Caleb and Lucy's book. I have read The Summer We Fell last year, and these were just sent to me by the publisher with the new covers. I started reading the series again. I don't know why I didn't continue last year. I did rate this a 3 stars. I think that I enjoyed the book. I just don't think I'll ever think about these characters again. So it was a workplace romance between them. There was like a neighbor sort of vibe going on. They've known each other since childhood. Yeah, I just don't know if they're like my favorite romance couple. It was like a fun read, but it wasn't my favorite read of Elizabeth's. I think she has written better books and better couples. I just don't know if their dynamic was my favorite. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. The Simple Wild by Kay Tucker. This was my first read of February. I cried my eyeballs out for this. I was crying like crazy. The prologue starts out with like reading the story of Calla when she's 4 years old and she is leaving her father who lives in Alaska, and her mother wants a better life and just like a different life to what they had been living in Alaska, which was like a very rural, very small town, very closed off from the world life, and she wanted to be in the city. They leave, go to the city. 24 years later, Calla has hardly had much contact with her dad, like maybe just a few phone calls, but she hasn't actually seen him. And then she gets a call one day and basically someone's told her that she needs to go back home. Her dad is not well, he's very sick. Basically like just to come see him, and you know, if she wanted to, she can say her goodbyes and, you know, try and have that little bit of relationship while she can. At that time, she does actually lose her job, so she thinks like it's the only suitable time for her to really go, so she packs a bag, leaves. She, on the way, takes multiple flights. When she gets to her last flight, she meets Jonah, who is like her dad's right-hand man. They work together all the time. He is a couple of years older than her, and he decides from that point onwards he's going to judge her. She is this city girl, she's very designer, wears everything the best of the best, always has to look pretty, always has to wear makeup. She just likes to present herself well, and like all most women do. He sees her, judges her right off the bat, and yeah, he is very grumpy, very rude. She is not taking it, and yeah, that's where she sort of builds that relationship with Jonah. But I feel like the romance in this could also just be a subplot. Most of the time you get like little snippets of their relationship, and like when you do, you're like, like, give me more, give me more. And I think it really meshed in well with like the relationship with her dad, and just learning like his backstory with her mum, and then also like why their relationship dwindled so much, and just like him as a person, like her getting to understand like him as a human being, and like why he is the way he is. Yeah, I've never cried so much while reading a book. Like, 5 stars. I was not expecting to give this 5 stars because I have had so many great reviews, but 5 stars, like 5 stars. I also don't know if I was crying so much because I was starting my period like 2 days later. If This Is Love, I actually DNF'd this book. I think it was a bit much for me. I used to read these types of books, but I can't do it anymore. It was a very weird dynamic. So she lived on a farm, or like a ranch, sorry, should I say, with her dad, but also with another guy who she's sort of grown up with as like a brotherly figure, but is not in any way blood related. And yeah, as soon as she turns 18, they have like a physical relationship and start flirting, and he starts seeing her differently, la la la. I couldn't do it. It started getting really weird. I don't know, I think it was the storyline of it all, and like the way he was reacting with like other guys that she was seeing, and like there was just certain things that kept happening. I'm like, I can do a forbidden thing as long as it's done like sort of tastefully. The way that this story went around, I was like, no, not for me. So yeah, I DNF'd it like 30%. Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas. This was the book that changed my mind in the series. It wasn't until the 50% mark that I actually did change my mind, because before that I was slowly getting into it again. I'm so excited to go into Queen of Shadows now. Like, this has fully hooked me, and I cannot wait to continue the series now. I love Aelin. I love her as a character. I just really enjoyed this. And meeting Rowan, like, I truly think that the last Crown of Midnight, I sort of wasn't really vibing with the love triangle that was going on. I was a bit like, this isn't working anymore. Like where this story is going, like I'm like, I'm not feeling it from her. Like, I don't think she wants this love triangle. But now that we've met Rowan, I'm like, this makes sense. And the way that it ended, Steph, I'm in love with Rowan. I am in love with him. Like, I want a man who's like that. I still love Dorian though. Like, Dorian's definitely still my favorite, but I do love Kale as well. Like, Kale is so sweet, and I feel like he would do anything for her. I love all of them. I love all of them. I forgot to say that this was a 5-star read, guys. Lessons in Revenge by Natalia LaRue. This is a MFM, not poly, sorry, it's sort of like a why choose between 2 guys and a female. She's actually taking out revenge on her father and goes to try and assassinate one of the guys in a restaurant. She fails, mission not accomplished, and he takes her hostage and takes her to his house, and he sort of decides whether if he wants to, you know, question her, get rid of her, or if he's going to make a deal with her and she has to be with him for the next year under his control, doing everything that he says. And obviously she takes the deal, and he makes a deal with her to get back at his father, who's actually the one that she's seeking out the full revenge on, because he had actually participated in the murder of her father. So she thought the only way to get back and get the revenge was to kill one of his sons. And yeah, that's like where the story starts. She makes the deal, she moves in with him, she meets his brother, which is his half brother. Yeah, there was some sharing scenes, and I'm like, I don't know if this is incest. Like, I am actually like, you guys are half siblings. And I don't know, that was where it sort of like threw me off a bit. I'm not really into like that. I'm not into incest. Obviously. I mean, it was only one scene, but just, yeah, I'm gonna give this like a 2.5, possibly 3 stars. And the author did send me this, so I do feel a little bit bad, but that scene is what really like deterred my thoughts. If they weren't technically blood related, I would have been fine. Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. Now, I know you guys know that I did not enjoy Magnolia Parks, but I actually really enjoyed Daisy Hates. I think it really completely changed my entire mind about the Magnolia Parks universe as a series. It was recommended to me by a mutual of mine, Maria. She said to listen to the audiobook for this. She sent me a snippet of an example of the audiobook, and I was like, Julian's voice, I was like sold. I've never listened to an audiobook in my life. I listened to this and I listened to it within 2 days, fell in love with it, and now I can't stop listening to audiobooks. But in specifically this audiobook, Julian's voice, and Christian's, I'm obsessed with their voices. Like, I can't deal with it. Like, yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed the story. The plot was so much better. The dynamic of the relationship was better. It was a bit repetitive in the aspects of like BJ Magnolia's can't say her name, BJ and Magnolia's relationship, but then also like their relationship, they had some similarities, but it was completely different, if that makes sense. I've heard as well that Magnolia Parks 2 is so much better than Magnolia Parks 1, so I'm still going to continue on the series. I'm going to go try and buy that book today because I want to read it this month. And yeah, I give this probably 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. Next, I read the Six Scorch Roses, which is the novella for the Nyaxia series. This couple was so different to the first book, which is Serpent of the Wings at Night, and it was a completely different couple. It was completely separate. Lilith and Val are just like a completely different couple, but I loved them. It was fun, it was sweet, it was like 170 pages. I think the spice was great, and it was just like a really good lead up into like their story. And I know that I knew reading that they were going to be in the next book of the series, which was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which I did also finish as well this month. Oh, and I will give the Six Scorched Roses probably a 4-star, which is crazy for me for a novella because I only give them 3, but I really, really enjoyed that. Like, I loved reading it. I wish I had more of it. It was that type of novella. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, I'm going to be very blunt and short with it because I don't want to give it away because it is the second book, and where this starts out is a spoiler for the first book. So I'm just going to tell you how I feel. I loved this. I had heard mixed reviews, but I loved it. The writing was very well done. It was very much what I needed. Like, I was going into this thinking it wasn't going to be as good as what the first book was, but it was perfection. Like, it was actually perfection. I think it was very well rounded to mix in with the first book, and I just think that it was perfectly done. So yeah, that's really all I'm going to say. I gave this 5 stars. Loved it. I really, 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 really loved it. How many times do I need to say really? Ruthless Vows, I actually did start this in January, got 30 pages in and didn't pick it up until yesterday. I then started the audiobook because I was like, you know what, I'm going to try an audiobook again because I loved the other audiobook, and I thought maybe this might help me just, you know, smash out a book that I'm struggling to get through. And yeah, it did. I put it on 2 times speed. I was smashing through. I got through it in about 7 hours total, and I was just walking around the house, cleaning things, doing stuff, and it was just so easy to listen to. I actually have fallen in love with audiobooks because of this, and just like the last 2 audiobooks I've listened to. I can get so much more reading done. I feel like this next month, watch out. I'm going to have so many books on my TBR that will be completed, and also just in my wrap-up in general. Roman and Kit, I don't know if I loved this dynamic as much in this story. I think the overall story wasn't as captivating as the first one for me. I really think I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it towards the end, but the first maybe 60-70% I was like, I'm bored. Like, I was really bored, and I was like, this is just like a little bit, it felt repetitive of the first book, as in like, obviously I can't give it away, but it just felt a little bit repetitive in the first book of like their relationship again. That's really all I'm going to say because I don't really have any other thoughts about it because a little bit disappointing. Audiobook helped me get through it, so that's good. I just had memory card full. I've only got 1 minute left to my memory card, so I'm gonna be so quick. That was my wrap up. That was all of the books I've read since January through to February, and I've actually had so many great reads, even though I've been reading so slow and I thought I was having like the worst time, but I actually have had really like a lot of good reads. So I'm very happy. If you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments, or if there's any other books that you think this month that I should start reading from my taste here, let me know. If I was to recommend any of them, I mean, there was just so many 5-star reads. I'll put them on the screen here. I'm gonna love you and leave you. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for being here and subscribing and watching my videos. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. I'll see you guys in my next video.